broadcasting from the Unshackled studios in Melbourne. This is Wilms Front, brought to you by the unshackled.net. Now here's Tim Wilms.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Wilms Front on this Friday the 4th of April 2025. We are live on the Wilms Front YouTube channel, the Wilms Front Rumble channel and my Wilms Front X account. It is 6 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria and 8 p.m. in Auckland, New Zealand, where my guest tonight is based. Now, last week on Wilms Front, you'll remember my guest was Bernie Finn, the lead candidate for the Family First Party in Victoria for the Senate. And he has long said that elections have consequences and warned us that a Labor Greens minority government could put Australia past the point of no return. This is why you should vote, and on election day, which is Saturday the 3rd of May, don't listen to the Ricardo Bossy types who say boycott the ballot. And now there are 6 Green senators up for re-election in every state for a 6-year term. That's out of the 11 Senate seats that they hold. The Greens are campaigning to increase the number of lower house seats they currently hold from 4 to potentially 7. And now the reason they are down to 11 senators is because they pre-selected Lydia Thorpe in the 2022 federal election, who then resigned so she could be a progressive no vote to the Voice. But us Victorians and the whole country is stuck with Lydia Thorpe in the Senate until 30th of June 2028. So if that wasn't a warning enough of the consequences of voting Green, then tonight we'll be travelling across the Tasman to discuss the scandal involving the Greens over there in New Zealand, their non-binary MP, Benjamin Doyle. Now, I reported on this on Monday's Tim's News Explosion, and trigger warning, we're going to be discussing highly disturbing sexual language, which involves children. Benjamin Doyle has taken leave from Parliament this week after he has now scrubbed personal Instagram account called Bible Belt Bussy, featuring images of his own child with sexualized captions. The New Zealand mainstream media at first attempted to pretend this wasn't a story. Then when New Zealand Deputy Prime Minister Winston Peters drew attention to the media's silence, they claimed Benjamin Doyle was the victim, accusing Peters of inciting death threats and hatred against queer people. Though after public disgust, including from gay individuals, the New Zealand media has been forced into more critical reporting.
Benjamin Doyle's private Instagram account, Bible Belt Bussy, used sexual slang, including alongside a photograph of their child. The latest highlighted post, swipe left to see an eggplant.
There are uses of language and content that will be unfamiliar to a lot of people right now.
For those unfamiliar with the eggplant emoji, it refers to a penis.
They've roped in the rainbow community, and I'm telling you 9 to 1, the rainbow community is as mad about this as we are.
One News was CC'd into an email sent to Chloe Swarbrick from a gay woman in her 50s in a civil union who watched this exchange on last night's news.
Yeah, the context is that members of the rainbow community oftentimes use terminology which could be considered to be outrageous.
The woman who One News spoke with today wrote that she resents Chloe Swarbrick's statement, saying being gay is not an excuse to behave inappropriately or make inappropriate comments, adding, "Be consistent, Chloe, and how dare you tar all gay people and by connection their children and their families with an outrageous brush."
That lettuce language sandwich you gave yesterday was just a disgraceful performance.
Chloe Swarbrick noticeably absent from media despite being at Parliament, leaving Marama Davidson to do the explaining.
There are ways that different members from different communities communicate that will not be familiar to the rest of us.
Winston Peters says it's gaslighting.
all her arguments are a tissue.
I just need to be really clear here.
Steering clear of the issue almost entirely today, National and Labour.
Look, I said everything I want to say about that issue yesterday, and that's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, I'm not going to fan the flames of this. I think there's far too much shouting around this right now.
Refusing to be drawn into this controversy.
And Mikey's with us now. Any update on those death threats, Mikey?
At least one referral has been made to police in terms of those threats. That referral was by Parliamentary Services, who is currently working with the Green Party to deal with the avalanche of abuse that is headed their MP's way. Now, given the severity of the situation, you really do start to question the way that the Green Party has responded, has handled this situation, particularly around the vetting processes. There were plenty of questions in regards to that today, and whether the Green Party leadership provided enough advice to keep their MP safe. Of course, politics is not for the faint-hearted. This is the rough and tumble of the place in which they find themselves working in, and that scrutiny really does elevate to another level once MPs enter Parliament. So whether the Green Party provided the necessary supports there, we saw in my story an inability for the co-leaders to really take any accountability for the situation that their MP has now found themselves in. Of course, this is now a lesson that they are learning.
To discuss how the New Zealand media failed the public and the cover-up from the New Zealand Greens, my guest tonight, returning to Wilms Front, is William McGimpsey, who through his Zeitgeist NZX account chronologues New Zealand politics and media. He's also a contributor to RCR, like myself. William, welcome back to Wilms Front.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Now, how did this Benjamin Doyle freak, pervert, deviant, at the very least, we can describe him as that, how did he end up in the New Zealand Parliament?
Well, the Greens have had a series of high-profile scandals and resignations. So Benjamin Doyle was not on the original intake of the Green Party, either list or electoral MPs in the last election. He's come in to replace one of the three Greens MPs who have resigned. So the three MPs we've had Golriz Garaman, who's was a reasonably well-known Greens MP. She was a former international human rights lawyer, and she came over here. She was involved in a high-profile shoplifting scam. So this is one of those very strange things where a wealthy and well-known and otherwise kind of respectable woman, I guess, with a high-profile job as an MP, would go around and steal things for no obvious reason, things she could obviously afford. And so she lost her job. Another Greens MP who lost her job was the Darlene Tana. Darlene Tana lost her job because her husband was involved in a scam involving mistreating immigrant workers working for his business, and she lied about her knowledge and involvement in that case. So Darlene Tana lost her job. And another one was the transgender Green MP, Elizabeth Kirikiri. So she was both Maori and transgender, and she lost her job for being involved in several documented bullying cases within the Greens, and also for having a go at Greens MP and now co-leader Chloe Swarbrick, texting the wrong thing in the wrong group chat at the wrong time to Chloe, or in a chat that Chloe was in. So that combination of bullying things meant that Elizabeth got voted out. And so Benjamin Doyle came in as a replacement. And he had a sort of his first speech in the House was all about how he was non-binary or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the thing was. They've all got their own different special things. But this guy's got a backstory that, like a lot of these people have. He used to work at the Burnett Foundation in New Zealand, it used to be called the AIDS Foundation. It's changed its name And the Burnett Foundation has sort of got a little bit of ill repute in New Zealand in recent times
For
because
filth,
of
putting out filth.
exactly. They put out filth. So they put out a bunch of posters telling kids how to have anal sex or various types of sex, and some types of sex you would never want
It
children
gets
to know how
New
to have.
Zealand government money, doesn't it?
That's right. It gets millions of dollars a year from the health department.
No
And
questions asked.
you would think there would be some sort of reporting back, but I mean, I can't answer to that. But there's been a lot of concern raised online and publicly about the activities of the Burnett Foundation. And it's one of a number of these sorts of rainbow groups in New Zealand that have associations with the government, that receive funding from the government, that work and provide advice to the government. And we're having a sort of public discussion in New Zealand at the moment about that, actually, about a war on woke, and the government seeing if it can do something about these relationships it has with rainbow organizations that many people view as improper. So Benjamin Doyle, he came from a background working for that foundation that puts out filth, and now he's in Parliament, bragging about his non-binary background and how he believes in transformational love and things like that. Very suspicious. But the specific allegations in question here first came to my attention when they were put out by an account called Holy Heka Tuiteka, which is a well-known political account in New Zealand.
Yeah, I follow it as well.
And so he posted a series of tweet threads with screenshots.
Yeah, I'll put some of them up on the screen.
So they show symbols, terms, words that can only be associated with pedophilia or minor attracted people.
So this is this swirl logo here, which is, it has been used by pedophiles online as a signal.
That's right. The other one was the use of the term bussy, which is a sort of portmanteau of boy and
Yes.
pussy. And the concerning thing is he's using this in posts with children in them, saying bussy galore and things like this.
And it's been revealed that is his own child, his son.
That's right. I'm not sure that makes it any better.
I'm not sure if he's in a heterosexual relationship. I'm not sure if they're raising their child as a son or one of these. I can't even remember the name. These genderless children, but his partner is actually a woman. He's in a heterosexual relationship. I heard that they didn't actually conceive the child themselves. It's adopted, believe it or not.
That's interesting. I haven't heard that particular piece of information, but you're right that he is in a heterosexual relationship, or what looks outwardly to be a heterosexual relationship.
And obviously we're rightfully calling him him because, well, if it looks like a male, talks like a male, then it's a male. And hasn't he identified as trans as well?
I think non-binary.
Well, this is what he sounds like. So this is him, of course, defending what in New Zealand is called RSE, relationship sex education. So this is what he looks and sounds like. Let's see if
Rangatahi deserve to have access to relationships and sexuality education that upholds their mana and their identities, not just for rainbow young people, but also for others who are learning about it in school. As part of the coalition agreement, the Minister for Education has been forced to remove RSE guidelines from the ministry's website. This goes against all the evidence in the ERO report, which said that whānau, teachers and young people actually enjoyed the curriculum and wanted to have more and consistent RSE in their schools. We cannot risk removing this crucial education guidelines from our schools. There will be a disproportionate effect on our trans, takatapui and rainbow students, but also all students who need to learn about gender, sexuality, relationships and consent. Our communities deserve better, and our rangatahi should be put at the heart of our education system, and that's exactly what the Green Party will do. Mana takatapui, mana tuakiri, mauri ora.
Okay, I don't understand all of those Maori words. I don't know.
You're not the only one, Tim. I wouldn't worry too much about that. But I can tell you about the RSE curriculum. That's the relationships and sexuality in education curriculum.
And he used to be a teacher, believe it or not, or maybe you can believe it.
Yeah, he did. But that curriculum has been an ongoing political issue in New Zealand. It was campaigned on in the last election campaign. They're teaching kids about inappropriate sexual stuff, including gender ideology, that there are multiple genders, all sorts of things like this, teaching them about types of sex, that there are many different types of sex. And one of the most concerning things is they're trying to get away, in some cases, from parental consent by they weave the RSE curriculum into other things that aren't explicitly about sex education, other areas of the curriculum, and they say it's about celebrating diversity and celebrating identity rather than teaching sex. So they're smuggling in the transgender ideology, the transgender education, not as sex education, but as celebrating diversity, and putting it into other non-sex education parts of the curriculum. And that, of course, parents then don't have the opportunity to opt out of those because they don't notify them that that type of thing's going to be offered as part of this other educational opportunity or course that's being taught. So there's been a lot of parents around the country organising, going and talking to schools about the RSE curriculum, about wanting to get it changed. The government is making some moves in this area. There's some concerns they're not moving fast enough to undo it. But this is why he's talking about that particular issue.
And I also saw another clip because it's been up to the independent media and just citizen journalists on X to expose all of the crazy proposals he has put out throughout his political career. This is on top of this creepy personal Instagram account. He wants puberty blockers to be issued on demand. So does that mean that children can just go to the pharmacy and get some puberty blockers and administer them themselves?
It kind of seems like that's what he's saying, isn't it? But there was just a couple of days before all this information came out, there was a transgender rally in Wellington, and this happened within the last couple of weeks, where he stood up and he made those comments, and so this is another issue that's been an active political issue in New Zealand around puberty blockers. We've had a lot of people campaigning to try and, like it's happening in the UK and it's not sure Australia and the US and elsewhere. This is an important political issue now. We've got health bureaucrats changing their mind in many countries around puberty blockers, around their safety and efficacy, and saying, a lot of the trans activist point of view on prescription of puberty blockers is probably not correct, or that lacks evidence to support it. And we at the very least, this is what the New Zealand Health Department has said anyway, at the very least we need to take a much more cautious approach to this type of thing. Now, a lot of people in New Zealand want to go further than that, obviously, and we're still working to try and get our government and get our health department to take further steps to crack down on these puberty blockers. But that's why Benjamin Doyle is speaking out on that issue here as well.
It seems the government that you've got that's been in power for, well, it's 18 months now, as a coalition of National, New Zealand First and ACT, they seem to be very slow to actually implement what they promised in the coalition agreement. Like, you contrast that with the fast radical action of Javier Milei in Argentina and of Donald Trump in the United States. They didn't waste a moment, but there seems to be, and this is the sad reality of a lot of centre-right governments in the Anglosphere, they just seem to be too timid in wanting to really radically change and upset the status quo within the bureaucracy, deep state, and the activists.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, I think, from a politician's point of view, powerful interests to be taking on there, isn't it? Particularly in the media, the mainstream media, and in the bureaucracy as well. And from the point of view of a lot of people, perhaps those two things are not necessarily always separate interests. They work together a little bit to protect their shared interests, with one group leaking information to the other, if that's tactical and appropriate at the time. The media, in particular, the way they've covered this scandal or not covered it, has been quite. It's worthy of commenting on. When it first of all, it broke through social media and alternative media, and for a long time, not for a long time, for days, the media refused to cover it. When they did cover it, the initial coverage was all about the impropriety of Winston Peters and the ACT Party in raising it, and that they talked about how the Prime Minister might, the Prime Minister should have words to Winston Peters to put him back in his place, and how he was being mean and disruptive by bringing the innocent Benjamin Doyle into things, and how he was now being bullied and being subject to death threats. Excuse me. But I think the media coverage has softened a little bit now. It's softened a little bit now, and I think they have seen that there's no real way of spinning a lot of this stuff in a positive way.
The Greens attempted to gaslight the public, saying, because I think most normal people and most people who watch our content will have thankfully never heard of the term bussy before until this week. And so I noticed that the Greens in their press conference basically said, oh, it's a internal rainbow community language that has been taken out of context. It's like when they try to appropriate a slur, even though the term bussy was created by gay men themselves. And so they're trying to basically use this opportunity to bamboozle the media and the public, saying, oh, it didn't actually mean what people, it didn't actually mean what it actually meant, because there's only one meaning of the word bussy in the LGBTQ community, and that is for boy pussy, male anus.
Yes, that's what I'm told. That's what we've all unfortunately found out about over the last week or two. Yeah, I mean, I had a point I was going to make there. I forgot what it was. Sorry.
Obviously, there was, because they basically, the Greens tried to say, oh, this is normal in, what is it? They always like to use the word queer rainbow community. There was a lot of gay and lesbian New Zealanders who said, no, this is not how we don't use that word around children. This is, don't try and use the rainbow shield and imply that this is okay, captions to put around photos with children.
Yeah, and there's a well-known commentator called Annie O'Brien here in New Zealand who had an op-ed in the New Zealand Herald today making that case. There's others. Rachel Stewart from RCR, I think, has said similar things. So yeah, and I think Winston Peters has pointed out that in the replies to his postings on this subject, there's many people who are part of the so-called rainbow community have come out and said, look, no, what Chloe Swarbrick is saying here is not right at all. But you can't use being gay or being LGBT or at least LGB as some sort of shield here to get away with what is disgusting behavior that appears to be promoting or at least trying to normalize pedophilia or minor attracted persons. And that, I think, trying to think through what they're actually doing here, maybe that's what it is, that they're thinking about what the next stage, the next cause is, the next thing to try and normalize. And it's the minor attracted people. And when you think about what Chloe Swarbrick said there, she basically said it's normal in the queer community to use the words outrageous sort of language and silly terms, and to use things out of context and in ways that you straight people just would never understand. And it's normalizing minor attracted persons. It's normalizing pedophilia. And Chloe Swarbrick is defending that, and the media in New Zealand is defending Chloe Swarbrick. So they're all, they're tying themselves here to a sinking ship, if that's the direction that they want to go in.
Well, the New Zealand media were silent a couple of years back when it was revealed by, I think it was actually Cam Slater, whose latest website is the Good Oil, that Grant Robertson, your former Deputy Prime Minister, was following this Instagram account called Cute Boys Philippines, which had pictures of what looked to be underage Filipino boys in various states of undress. The only, I think, sort of possible defense could be is that, well, they could be over 18 because Southeast Asian men look younger than they are. But there was no scrutiny, questions of Grant Robertson. This Rebel News article is just it's one of the only independent news articles that exist on the World Wide Web about this, and he unfollowed it and he got away with it.
Yeah, and I remember that story. That post from Cam Slater, that went viral, and that went viral right around the world. It got a huge number of retweets and likes and that sort of thing, and views. But yeah, it was never picked up by New Zealand media or other people, and Grant Robertson never had to be held accountable for it. And he's since he's left politics in New Zealand after sort of spending our country into oblivion. He was the spendiest finance minister we've ever had. Spent us into oblivion. He's now picked up a posting at the University of Dunedin as the vice chancellor, where he's raking in six-figure sums as a nice little paid sinecure after politics. So there's just a club here, isn't there, of these people who just go from one well-paid, cushy job to another, and
appear to be compromised.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Now, there is growing backlash because of not just the Benjamin Doyle scandal and the Grant Robertson scandal, but this whole child grooming throughout education and gender ideology against the LGBT events. And Brian Tamaki's Destiny's Church, they protested, interrupted both Auckland and Wellington's Pride parades, and have been relentless in protesting drag story time. It's actually expanded now. It's not just drag queens in New Zealand, but drag kings, which are women dressed up as men. So it's going to a whole new dimension now.
Yeah, but I think what Brian Tamaki is doing is healthy and natural. It's natural for good ordinary people to want to push back. It's really a battle over whose norms, whose idea of what is normal should hold sway in public spaces. And I think most people would agree that you want to have safe spaces, so to speak, for families with children in the public spaces and around your towns and your cities and around your countryside. But every time there's a pride parade, they don't just dress up like normal to raise awareness of a particular political or social or cultural problem. They bring depravity with them. So the depraved behaviour and standards of dress are a part of the demonstration, and so it makes it, if you're in town with your kids and you see this thing coming, you've got to sort of take them away. Like it's makes the space unsafe for children and families. And this is it's a part of the way the gay movement does their protests and demonstrations. That's not enough for them just to have a different opinion and make their opinion heard. They've got to sort of foul up and the public space and make it disgusting for anyone else to be around.
And this is all public. A lot of it's publicly funded as well. Through you only have one system of government, two layers of government in New Zealand. So you just have the national government, and then you have local councils.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how much, if it's a mixture of both, but also the major political parties, they also attend as well.
Yeah, there's a surprising number of our politicians who attend gay pride parades regularly. And it's not just the left-wing parties, it's people from the National Party attend, people from the ACT Party attend. I don't think I've seen anyone from New Zealand First, which is the sort of nationalist party in New Zealand, who's the third party in our coalition agreement, attending these types of events. But they all attend, apart from New Zealand First, and they all seem to be in on this stuff. And you're right, this stuff does happen at both the national government and the local government level. Our local governments are funding rainbow crossings. They're promoting these drag queen storytime events in public libraries in their cities and towns. And they're doing any number of other things as well to promote this stuff. And that's causing protest activity in New Zealand. Like Brian Tamaki, for example, he's several times now he's painted over the rainbow crossings. He's got his men. Brian controls a large number of physically imposing young men. He runs this Man Up campaign.
We have no church like Destiny Church in Australia who would take that type of radical action.
Yeah, well, I think it's sort of necessary at this point. You have to in order to maintain norms of decency and public standards, you can't just sit back and do nothing in the face of a radical left who are willing to march, take to the streets, get very active in politics and media and advocacy. They've been doing that for half a century now, and it's proven very effective. And if we want to combat it, we're going to have to use similar tactics. We're going to have to become much more engaged politically and organized and motivated and active, and form organizations and engage in protest activity, advocacy activity to counter this type of behavior. And so that's part of why I'm doing the stuff that I'm doing in media and advocacy. And I think we're starting to make a difference. You can see with people like Brian Tamaki, he's starting to make a difference. He's at the very least, and I think he's doing more than this, but at the very least, he's making it a public issue. We have to talk about it now because we've got people on both sides protesting, showing that they're unhappy with the other side. So a resolution has to be found to these issues because we're willing to protest now.
I couldn't believe your free speech union condemned Brian Tamaki and Destiny's Church protesting drag story time at libraries, defending that it should be perfectly allowed for parents to come and take their children to these events. It was quite extraordinary.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. And, full disclosure, I used to work for the New Zealand Free Speech Union. I've since parted ways with them. But yes, I think they're simply wrong on this issue. I don't think it's a free speech issue. A drag queen is not speaking. They're not sharing a sort of viewpoint with someone. They're engaging in lewd behavior. They're dressing inappropriately around children.
They're not reading The Hungry Caterpillar to the children. They're all like books, basically encouraging children to dress up in opposite sex clothing. They're all the books that they read. They're all aimed at indoctrinating.
It's subversion. It's subversion. And we have standards in movie theaters and on television programs, like for sex, violence, or drug content that we don't want children to see. It's illegal to take an under 16-year-old into an R16 movie, I believe. And no one thinks that is a free speech issue. Everyone accepts that is legitimate. So I just think similar standards need to be applied in the drag queen story time case. And the Free Speech Union has got that one wrong. But nevertheless, that's the position that they're taking. And I think they've taken a significant public hit because they've chosen to take that position.
Well, they appeared to double down by inviting James Lindsay to tour New Zealand, who of course has made a name for himself by being one of the main proponents of trying to make this term woke right happen. The other prominent intellectual dark web, or wanker as I call them, who propagates it is Konstantin Kisin. And now you wrote on your Substack, and I'll put the link into the live chat. You debated James Lindsay about the term. First, because I read your article, but what I thought it was missing is, or how I would summarize it, is that the implication by using the term woke right is that they're as emotional and as irrational as the woke left, and they're the same in that they both have a victim complex. So the implication being is the woke right, that they believe that the reason why whites why their living standards are declining, white living standards, is because of other forces, and so they're compensating for their own inadequacies by blaming other groups. And also the other implication that they say the woke left and the woke right have in common is that they both hate their country. They're always talking it down, even though the reason why they're talking about what's the right, when they're talking about what's wrong with their country, is because they want to make it better, not because they want to take it to year zero.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think this woke right term doesn't make sense at all. I think a better name for what James and Konstantin Kisin are calling the woke right would be the anti-woke right, because these are the most anti-woke people on the right. I think the woke right would be a better term for James and Konstantin Kisin themselves. These are the people who support a lot of the woke stuff.
They still believe that diversity, as long as it's from like good cultures, then that's okay. Then and we're seeing a lot with centre-right parties, like particularly in our Australian federal election, the Liberal Party, our Conservative Party, they're doing huge campaigning with Indian and Asian communities. Tony Abbott described the Liberal Party as now the party of migrants, and they're going to all of these cultural celebrations. And supposedly this is the sort of strategy that Konstantin and James would. That's still identity politics.
Yeah. I mean, they're really against identity politics, but they support the gay rights movement. They support African American civil rights movement. They support women's rights.
Well,
all these things are gay.
Yeah, Konstantin was debating at the Oxford debate. He was basically saying to the woke people, "Oh, look, it's so wonderful, our country, for your values." So what they basically are is that they're liberals who believe that the woke left, the radical left, has lost it a bit. And you particularly notice it with Trump 2.0, and this is represented by Claire Lehman at Colette. They're just like, I don't know if they just want to be contrarians, but we're the rational, we're critical, and they're basically going back to just being the liberals they were, and that we're against both the extreme left and the extreme right.
They're trying to capture the energy and the vibe of the online right, while actually rejecting the people who are in it, all the premises. And you're right, going back to the old containment project that we've had for the last half century of keeping what were the paleo conservatives and the race realists and the nationalists and out of the mainstream of the conservative movement. So it's the same old thing. It's just a return to the same old thing. And if those guys had their way, none of the ideas that we're advancing on trying to overturn this paradigm that's leading to the dispossession and the diversification into nothingness of the Western world, that whole project of trying to overturn and reverse that process would be undone by the likes of Konstantin and James Lindsay.
Although it is funny to sort of see them, the audience that they've attracted now begin to like realize, wait, they're now espousing this, and they use, and again they try to spin that as like, see, we'd rather lose followers than abandon our principles.
Yeah. I mean, Trump's biggest policy innovation, arguably, when he first came down the elevator, was putting the issue of immigration front and center in the campaign. And James Lindsay and Konstantin Kisin, I think that maybe they talk about illegal immigration, but they definitely don't want to talk about the problem of immigration.
Yes, they have to come here legally.
Yeah,
we've got mass immigration to our country, but it's all legal because the government hands them a visa.
well, we have the same thing in New Zealand, and I think, we might argue with one another about who's got the higher rates. I might say New Zealand has the higher rates, and you might say, well, Australia has the higher rates, but we've both got pretty high rates. And these sorts of rates are not sustainable with maintaining what we have known as the New Zealand and Australian people and culture over the subsequent decades. It would what these policies mean is that the peoples and cultures and nations that we have known as New Zealand and Australia will cease to exist if they're kept up, and our countries will be populated by a new bunch of people with a different culture, and there'll be a lot of Indians, there'll be a lot of Chinese, there'll be a lot of people from other different places. But will they really be New Zealanders? Will they really be Australians anymore in any real identifiable biological or cultural way?
And I believe that the centre-right, the containment right, will utterly fail to cultivate these new voters. The Liberal Party has failed so far, particularly to get the Indians to vote for them. And I noticed that your Prime Minister, Chris Luxon, has also been at various Indian events. Your next election isn't until the final third of 2026. But based on the current polls, it's going to be ending up a strategy which, because they'll still vote for the government, the party, which will offer them the greatest protection, money for their schools, community events, and hate speech laws as well.
Well, the big thing that New Zealand's looking at now is we're trying to negotiate a free trade deal with India, and negotiations are underway. And what people in New Zealand are concerned about is that some of the conditions that may be put on that free trade deal may involve freer movement of people from India into New Zealand, and recognition of Indian qualifications in New Zealand.
Oh, that's already happened here in Australia. Reciprocal qualification recognition. We've already got that now.
Yeah. And how's it worked out for you?
Well, it's only just come into effect. It's not an election issue. Well, it is for people who watch my program and follow the Unshackled, but in terms of the two major parties, it's not an issue.
But the students would be another big issue in Australia. Am I correct about that?
It is. Peter Dutton, is the Liberal Party opposition leader, has pledged a 25% cut to permanent migration, but that only include permanent migration. Those become permanent migrants. They're already people who've already come to Australia. So, but then he says we'll just ratchet it up. But he's telling the voters one thing, and he's telling the migration agents another thing. Like basically, they need to worry about, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and he also wants to bring back the $5 million a gold card, which is, I think, what's Trump's called it. You can buy your way into Australia with $5 million.
Yeah, we're doing that in New Zealand as well. We because you used to have that policy, didn't you? And then one of your governments abolished it.
The Albanese government got rid of it because it was attracting many spies and criminals.
Yeah, so now our government's picked up that failed policy that was dumped and wants to implement it in New Zealand. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I think both of our countries have a similar problem with the students, the foreign international students. We're using our universities not so much to educate our best and brightest to take their place within our economy and society and contribute as much as they can, but we're using them as sort of a sort of experience that we charge foreigners for. So we're trying to get as many foreign students in the door as possible, get them into the universities, and then milk them for money. Yeah,
it's the only export which is an import.
Yeah, Yeah, that's right. So we bring in the people, and then milk the students for all you can while they're at university, and then maybe you let some of them stay, maybe some of them go back. I don't think that's the best way to be running universities. I think that we need to use our universities for what they're primarily for, which is to number one, educate the next generation of students so they can make the best possible contribution to New Zealand and Australian economy and society. And so secondly, our universities need to be bastions of high quality research, high quality research. And the focus on diversity and using them as cash cows creates a sort of lowering of standards, and it also has this, the censorship effect, the politically correct woke censorship effect, where a lot of research, a lot of public statements that academics can make in these controversial areas around race, sex, gender. You can't say them, or if you do, you lose your funding or you lose your career.
Yeah, well, the university system here in Australia produced the ray gun embarrassment at the Olympics.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, it's been fantastic to catch up with you again, William. So your X handle is it is the Zeitgeist NZ. So I will put it in the live chat and share it on the screen, because yeah, you're extremely always posting. You're very active on X. So if you want to know a lot about what's happening in New Zealand, go and follow William over there. And of course, we can also listen to you on RCR as well. You're on Duet de Boers weekly roundup program.
That's right. That's right. And I contribute in other ways as well. I often do commentaries for RCR that appear on social media. So if you follow the RCR account, you'll get occasionally content from me that way as well.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge on quite a disturbing and confronting topic, and we'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, Tim. It was good to talk to you again.
And that's Wilms Front for another week. Now, of course, I'll be back on Monday evening, 8:30 p.m. We'll be back to Australian Eastern Standard Time. It is the end of daylight savings this Saturday night. Well, it's mainly digital these days. So your iPhone and all other smart devices automatically put your clocks back by an hour. You get an extra hour's sleep, which means in Australia we're back to only 3 time zones, Eastern, Central and Western. So obviously on Tim's News Explosion Monday, we'll be discussing the fallout from Trump's Liberation Day tariffs, including his beef with Australian beef, and the latest from the election campaign, including the fall of Anthony Albanese off the stage. Though, of course, he claims that he didn't fall. He just went off a step. And plus, Victoria's new intersectional anti-vilification laws after a Greens amendment, which means that, well, they can't be used to prosecute anti-white vilification and hatred and incitement. And we'll also be covering the release of Fat Tony Mockbell on bail, and also firearms managing to make their way into the footy last night as well, getting through security. Now, as you all will know by now, I'm also an RCR contributor to Paul Brennan's breakfast program. So you can see my latest Wilms report over on rcr.media. And of course, I cannot bring you Wilms Front's Tim's News Explosion without your support. So please consider either supporting us over on Substack, which is where I have our Unshackled Productions archive and also send out email alerts for upcoming Unshackled Productions. Monthly $5 per month, annual $50 per year, a founding member for $500 per year. Also, you can take out a premium membership on the unshackled.net, which is also where we publish still unshackled articles. So you can be bronze $5 per month, bronze $50 per month, silver $10 per month, $100 per year, gold $25 per month, $250 per year, and platinum $50 per month, $500 per year. Now, there'll be a fresh report from Tiger Mount with Richard Wollstonecroft on the weekend. I just published one today about the planes that fell out of the sky when Trump first took office earlier this year. There were all these planes falling out of the sky. Was it DEI or sabotage? Richard was on Sam Newman's You Cannot Be Serious podcast this week. Sam interviewed Richard's filmmaking friend, Paul Moda, who has been publishing the WASP files about he doesn't believe that Martin Bryant was the gunman in the Port Arthur massacre back in 1996. It'll be coming up soon to the 29th anniversary of it, the 30th next year. So I will see you all back on the air on Monday night, 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time. So make sure that you subscribe to the Wilms Front channels, click the bell to allow notifications, give a like, thumbs up, comment below, and also share as well, because it all helps with the algorithm. I hopefully will be back with more Wilms Fronts before the federal election. Of course, we're doing an election night live stream on Saturday, the May the 3rd from 6 p.m. when the polls start to close on the East Coast. So I'm hoping to interview more candidates. So stay tuned for those. But good night, everybody. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.
Thanks for tuning in to Wilms Front. Visit timwilms.com to view the archive of episodes. And keep visiting the unshackled.net to view all our shows and to keep up with the latest real news and analysis.